Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cristina Ordona. I'm a Brisbane resident. We appreciate you coming to support our community vigil to stand with the Asian American Pacific Islander community in solidarity to denounce racism. We will get started shortly. Just a friendly reminder to please wear a mask and social distance within your social bubble today. There are volunteers who have masks if anyone needs any. We would like to open the vigil with a musical offering. Now I'll be passing the mic to Brisbane's own Christopher Lee.
Hello everybody, we're at the School of Polynesian Dance, the Islands of Tahiti. Our school name is Ohinaru Hui. Although we are not an Asian based program, we are Polynesian by blood. We support the Asian Pacific Islands no matter where you come from. How about now? Better? Once again, we are Polynesian Dance School, representing the islands of Tahiti. But we are a big supporter of Asian culture and the Asian Pacific Island heritage. Our dancers are from all different backgrounds, many are Asian as well. And so, us too, Asian by birth, Polynesian also by birth. So our school is here in Brisbane, and it's our pleasure to support this cause for everybody out there, and to promote peace in our communities. Okay, so first presentation is a dance to a drum, representing the canoe voyage. Our people travel throughout the world by ocean, by canoe. So this is the Oteawa'a.
Thank you for that moving performance. Ohina Aru Nui. Before I welcome our next speaker, again reminder to please wear a mask and social distance. Again, volunteers with masks are here if you need any. Our first speaker today is the City of Brisbane's Mayor, Karen Cunningham.
Testing, can you hear me back there? Yeah. Okay, thank you. Where's my glasses? Oh, they're on my glasses. I'm always doing that. So, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. This is such a crazy time in our world, but I would like to open with a message of hope. If everybody could take just a moment to turn around and take in our beautiful mountain. And then I have a little positive story to start the day. The power of healing of this beautiful mountain is just amazing. So today is the spring equinox. The equinox is a day that marks the time that the sun crosses the equator and day and night are the same length. This day is celebrated around the world with almost every culture and has been for thousands of years. So here we are today celebrating the equinox, which represents new beginnings for the wheel of life and something that we hope will bring us all much hope for a better world. We live in an extraordinary community, so thank you all for solidarity for our Asian American and Pacific Island community. We enjoy so much beauty both within our hearts and homes in this exceptional spiritual mountain sanctuary. And that was quite an amazing performance by the drummers. Let's give them another hand. Now would you join me in looking around, see families, students, parents, grandparents, elders, neighbors, employees, offices, local media, your Brisbane City Council members, Cliff Lenz, Madison Davis, Terry O'Connell, who else do I see here? Colleen Macken, there she is, hiding. Colleen Macken. We also have Supervisor David Canepa floating around over here, ready to speak to you in just a moment. And our District Attorney, Steve Wagstaff, is here. We can tell Steve, he's the tall guy. Okay, so we're all here today because we've seen the headlines and we are so grief-stricken with and deeply troubled about what is going on around us. Today we have the names of all of the people who were slain in Atlanta earlier this week, and that is why our flags are at half-staff today. Hate has no place in Brisbane. We will not tolerate racism or hate in any form against any community. No. When one community is being attacked, we are all being attacked. So we're here to support everybody who feels that they're being attacked. Please know the city... Please know the city is committed to the well-being and safety of our Asian American and Pacific Island residents. Our Brisbane volunteers from the Brisbane Community Response Coalition. Can you guys raise your hands? Anybody here from BCRC? This is a volunteer organization in Brisbane, and if you feel that you need to go somewhere and you need an escort, they're going to help you moving forward. Hopefully that won't be necessary, but we have great people here in this town. And this past Thursday at our City Council meeting, I read the following resolution. Now please, if you would bear with me, it's going to go on for about a minute. Shall do. Whereas hate crimes, discrimination, and aggression against Asian Americans are on the rise throughout the country, as Asian American Pacific Island groups are being blamed for the COVID-19 outbreak. And whereas since the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 29,506,986 cases and 535,758 deaths have been reported in the United States as of March 12, 2021. Whereas scientists have confirmed that COVID-19 disease does not respect borders and is not caused by ethnicity, and whereas approximately 30% of the City of Brisbane's 4,692 residents are of Asian heritage, compared with 15.3 for the state of California. And whereas, as the COVID-19 virus has spread, Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders reported experiencing offensive comments and actions related to their race, racial profiling, hate incidents, and in some cases, violence, hospitalization, and tragically, even the death as a result from their assaults. And whereas since March 19, 2020, the organization Stop AAPI, Asian American Pacific Island Hate, received about 3,000 of first-hand reports of anti-Asian hate across 47 states and Washington, D.C. And whereas COVID-19 is a public health issue, not a racial one, and using racist rhetoric to characterize COVID-19, such as the Chinese virus, only encourages hate crimes and incidents against Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders at a time when communities should be working together to get through the crisis. Whereas on March 20, 2021, a community-led vigil will be held in the Brisbane Community Park to stand with Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in solidarity to denounce racism. And whereas it is critical that the city take leadership and stand in solidarity with its Asian American Pacific Islander communities to send a message that racist and hate-motivated behavior will not be tolerated. Whereas all persons are encouraged to report such xenophobic, racist, or discriminatory incidents to the proper authorities for investigation. And whereas the City of Brisbane wishes to affirm its commitment to the well-being and safety of its Asian American Pacific Islander communities and ensure that they are welcomed, respected, and valued, and that the city stands united against hate. Now therefore be it resolved that the City of Brisbane hereby denounces xenophobia, racism, and anti-Asian sentiments, and joins cities, counties, and states across the country in affirming its commitment to the safety and well-being of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in combating hate crimes targeting them. And be it further resolved that the city will continue its efforts to protect and aid victims of hate acts related to COVID-19 in partnership with local nonprofits, community volunteers, and our law enforcement partners. Thank you again for being here. This is such a special afternoon. Your presence is so important. Thank you. Now please join me in welcoming the President of the County Board of Supervisors, Supervisor David Canepa. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. First of all, I want to recognize the City Council, the Mayor, the City of Brisbane. And I want to ask Kalvin Lee to step forward. Kalvin, can you raise your hand? This City Council was so responsive. As many of you know who live here, this is the City of the Stars. But it's amazing what one person can do, a group of people can do, and then to have the City Council act. And for us to be here today, let's give the council and Mr. Lee just a round of applause. Make no mistake about it, racism is a virus. And when we see something wrong, we all have a responsibility to speak up. And so if you look around us today, you're going to see different signs. No silence. Stop Asian hate. Not only for this generation, but for our children's generation. We need to stand up, we need to be loud, and we need to make sure that united we stand, because we know through the United States right now, in cities, large and small, people are coming together and they're saying, no more. We're not going to accept this behavior. And when we say this, we do it with love, we do it with respect, and most importantly, we do it because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah!
I'm proud of the City of Brisbane. I'm proud of the residents. Look around. Look how many people are here. There's many of us here. And we're here because we want to do what's right. We want to do what's just. And so I'll just close by saying this. The City of Brisbane, I don't know if Carolyn's here. Carolyn Chung. Thank you, Carolyn. Clay Holstein, the city manager. Because what's happening here in Brisbane says a lot. It says a lot. It reflects their values, their principles. It's great, great leadership. And then finally, I want us all to do something, okay? If you'll just join me in doing this. If we can just clap together as a group. Thank you very much and enjoy today.
What's Amanda?
Thank you, County Supervisor Dave Canepa. Thank you for representing the City of Brisbane, and thank you for your continuous support. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chief Elizabeth Macias. It's wonderful to see the turnout we have today as we come together to support our Asian American and Pacific Islander community. On behalf of the Brisbane police officers and myself, we stand here with you in solidarity to denounce violence and racism and promote peace, respect, and safety for everyone. We work in partnership with you, as you are the eyes and ears of our community. If you see something, say something. We are here for you. As always, we welcome any anonymous tips or suggestions. We are always listening and want the community to feel comfortable in coming to us to share their concerns. As your police department, there is nothing more important than serving our community, our residents, and keeping you safe. We are and always will be working we will and always will be working in partnership with our community. And now, in closing, I'd just like to personally say a thank you to our San Mateo County District Attorney, Steve Whitestaff. Thank you, Steve, for joining us and showing your support. We are very fortunate to have Steve as our San Mateo County District Attorney, because we know that we can count on Steve and his staff to aggressively prosecute hate crimes that are not welcome in our county and nowhere else. So thank you. And now I have the pleasure of introducing today's first youth speaker, Aeneas Bufiy. I'm sorry, that was Aeneas Bufiy.
Thank you, organizers, Mayor Cunningham, Supervisor Canepa, and Police Chief Macias. But above all, I'd like to thank everyone that came out here to support the Asian American community. Give yourselves a hand. My name is Aeneas Bufiy, and I am 14 years old and a County of San Mateo Youth Commissioner. I'm here today to denounce the recent hate crimes against the Asian American community. The Youth Commission and I vehemently condemn these heinous actions, and our hearts go out to any victims of racism and violence. These attacks are an absolutely horrible representation of America and its values. It is evident that anti-Asian racism has been on the rise. In 2020, out of almost 1,000 Asian American Pacific Islander youths that were interviewed by the Stop Asian Hate youth campaign, 73% were angry and frustrated by the recent events, and the rest had similar feelings. But however, what we have seen this year is simply another chapter in the long history of anti-Asian racism that has existed in America since the very first Asian immigrants arrived on these shores. Whether it be the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, the internment of Japanese Americans during World War II, or the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020, Asian Americans have felt like foreigners in their own country. They have been mocked for their vision, asked what country they are really from, or simply stereotyped. 2020 has simply brought this issue to the very forefront. Now, not 1 week after this pandemic began, Asians across the country were being blamed for coronavirus. My own mother was told to go back to China while out shopping for groceries. Not only this, but our elders who have sacrificed so much so that their children may find a better life were being attacked in broad daylight. I believe I speak for most people here that enough is enough. Racism is an ugly stain on America's past and present, and in order to have a right and just future, it must be eliminated in all forms. America is our country too, and we are here to stay. Now, in uncertain times, communities always come together to look out for one another, and we will do this again. Stop Asian hate. Thank you. And now I'd like to call up my mother, Hataitip Bufiy, who is Senior Community Planning and Development Representative at the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development. But today she's not representing HUD. She's here on behalf of the Thai Community Development Center. Thank you.
I am so short, but okay. Thank you, Youth Commissioner Aeneas Bufiy, who's also happened to be my son. I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation to the organizers who rallied and basically became our ally in this fight. I also want to thank Mayor Cunningham for her leadership, Supervisor Canepa, and Chief Macias for all and everything that you've done to support the Asian American community. Thank you. Thank you so much to everyone for being here, because without you, our voices will not be heard. My name is Hataitip Bufiy. I wear many hats. I am a resident of San Mateo County and a mom to 2 children. I work for the federal government by day, and I volunteer with Thai Community Development Center in my free time. The mission of the Thai Community Development Center is to advance the social and economic well-being of low and moderate income ethnic communities through human rights advocacy and legal aid. Today, I'm coming before you as a representative of Thai Community Development Center and as a deeply concerned member of the Asian American community. As the entire country grapple with COVID-19 pandemic, the Asian American community is also facing an alarming rise in anti-Asian violence, hate, and discrimination. In 2020, nearly 1 in 3 Asian Americans reported experiencing racial slur or jokes since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, including myself. Stop AAPI Hate, a nonprofit organization that runs the Stop AAPI Hate Reporting Center, track incidents of hate and discrimination against Asian American and Pacific Islanders, and almost 3,800 incidents have taken place against the Asian American community since March 2020, ranging from violent attack to verbal harassment. That is unacceptable. Asian Americans are the target of violent assault, traumatic verbal harassment, and startling discrimination that aims to devalue their citizenship and place in this society. While many of these incidents do not meet the legal definition of a hate crime, such attacks create an unacceptable environment of fear and terror. An 84-year-old Thai man was brutally assaulted and shoved to the ground by his assailant in San Francisco back in January. He died from his injuries 2 days later. That is unacceptable. A 75-year-old Asian American man was attacked also in Oakland on March 9. He was left brain dead and died from his injuries 2 days later. That is unacceptable. In New York City, an 89-year-old woman was slapped in the face and lit on fire while outside her very own home. That is unacceptable. These incidents did not occur in a vacuum. America has a very dark history of vilifying minorities, including targeting the Asian American community and using federal law to enable this discrimination and violence. The current rise in anti-Asian hate is not due to random acts of violence and discrimination. It actually reflects current geopolitical tensions and the use of anti-Asian rhetoric by major leaders. Rhetoric that is putting a target on the back of Asian American people. This violence and discrimination must stop because it exacerbates the loss and trauma caused by COVID-19 pandemic, even as the community plays a significant role on the front line of fighting the disease. So the message is clear. We must unite against hate, and every American must speak up against such hatred toward their neighbors. Are you willing to pay the price of justice and unite against hatred toward your neighbors? I certainly hope you are, and justice ain't free. Nothing worth having in life is ever free. And I hope that everyone here will choose the unwavering principle over political expediency, discomfort over comfort, sacrifice over privilege, action over complacency, and above all, justice, whatever the price might be. Thank you again so much to the City of Brisbane for allowing me to speak today. Thank you so much to everyone who's here, willing to unite and fight for us. Now I would like to hand over to Sebastian Sun. Sebastian is a student of Reardon High School in San Francisco. He's born and raised in the City of Brisbane. He's an emerging leader who designed a poster representing the campaign. And without further ado, Sebastian, please take the floor. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Hello? Hello everyone. My name is Sebastian Sun. I am 14 and I've lived in Brisbane for 12 years. I am here today because I want to raise awareness of attacks on Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. One of the goals of this vigil is to stop anti-Asian American Pacific Islanders racism, violence, hate, and bullying. Did you know? According to the group Stop the Hate Youth report in 2020, Asian American Pacific Islander high school students are the racial group most likely to be bullied in California, especially because of their limited English proficiency, immigrant status, culture, and religion. The COVID-19 has led to even greater verbal harassment of Asian American Pacific Islanders, students both at schools, in public places, and online. The reports also found that adults were present 48% of the time, yet only 10% of the cases did a bystander intervene. I am asking you to support Asian American Pacific Islander youth. Learn more about the Asian American Pacific Islander experience in our stories, and have courage to call out racism when you see it, even bullying. To learn more, go to StopAsianAmericanPacificIslanderHate.org. Thank you. Now I'd like to call up Michael Lee.
Hi, my name is Michael. People are attacking Asians because of their race, and that's not right. It's not right to hurt people. Everyone should be treated equally. The first time that I heard Asians were getting attacked was when an 89-year-old grandmother was attacked in Brooklyn this past summer. 2 male suspects approached her, slapped her on the face, and set the back of her shirt on fire with a match or a lighter. She was able to stop the flames and prevent serious injury. A lot of grandmas and grandpas were not as lucky as her. I felt sad when I heard about that attack and wondered why someone would want to hurt a grandma. She was minding her own business and didn't do anything to them. I'm worried that this could happen to my family. We should be able to go outside without the fear of being attacked because of our race. What can we do to change what's happening? When you see someone getting attacked, say something. Scream. Get other people's attention so they can help. Don't be afraid to speak up. If someone is in trouble, help them. Stand up for what is right and fight back. Let's work together to help keep our community safe. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce my dad, Kalvin.
Everybody hear me? My name is Kalvin Lee, and I am proud to be Asian. Hope is what I see when I look out here today. I am so happy that all of you have come together. I see so much diversity. Young people, old people, families, people with different beliefs, people from different backgrounds, all coming together to stand against racism and hate, to stand with the Asian community united as part of a larger community, our community. The police department statistics from 2020 showed a nearly 150% increase in hate-fueled attacks on Asian Americans across major cities in the U.S. from the year before. Stop AAPI Hate has received nearly 3,800 reports of anti-Asian hate incidents across the country since March of last year. in the months of January and February of 2021, there were at least 503 hate incidents reported, or an average of 9 incidents per day. Please let me share a few recent incidents to provide context. Tuesday, March 16th, in Oakland, a 77-year-old elderly Asian man was assaulted coming home from breakfast around 8:30 a.m. The man's son, Patrick, says the man approached his dad. His dad said, "Good morning." The man responded, "You gotta calm down." And all of a sudden, punched him in the face. Took nothing, walked away. He suffered a swollen face, neck, and pain in his jaw. Monday, March 15th, in San Francisco, Danilo Yu Cheng, a 59-year-old Chinese Filipino man, was walking back to his office along Market Street and was so severely beaten that he lost consciousness. Here's what Danilo said. "Somebody pushed me from the back and started hitting me, and I lose consciousness. And when I wake up, I'm all bloodied up. I've got 2 black eyes, but my vision has come back on the right side. But the left is still, I cannot see from the left. They didn't take anything. Everything is with me. I didn't lose anything." Danilo believes this was hate motivated. The week of March 8th in Oakland, Pak Ho, a 75-year-old elderly Asian man, was warned by his care manager not to go to Chinatown because of the attacks on Asians. They spent time together on March 5th, Friday, when she took him to get his second COVID vaccine. He gave her cookies as a way to say thank you. March 9th, Tuesday, while taking his morning walk in his own neighborhood, he was attacked, pushed to the pavement, and robbed. He fell and suffered a head injury with brain damage. He passed away on Thursday, March 11th. I feel sick to my stomach, numb and exhausted to read about a new incident day after day of someone robbing or attacking a member of the Asian community. I am sad that the most vulnerable group in our community are being targeted, our elderly. I am sad that the increase in crime is keeping shoppers away from Asian-owned small businesses during a time when businesses are already suffering because of the pandemic. I am sad that I have to explain to my child that someone could bully him, steal from him, and attack him because of the color of his skin. I am heartbroken. Stop AAPI Hate analyzed 341 reports of racism and discrimination against Asian American youths nationally since March of last year. One pattern that emerged is the complicity of adults who were present in nearly half of the cases and almost never intervened. This past summer, we witnessed people of different backgrounds coming together, calling for justice for the murder of George Floyd and protesting systemic racism. As the number of attacks against Asian communities continue to grow, despite repeated pleas for help, We need to embrace the same cross-connected community support and unity to fight these injustices. Fighting against racism and hate for any specific community is not mutually exclusive. We are grateful to all communities that have stood beside and have spoken out on behalf of the Asian communities denouncing these attacks. I would like to share what an Asian American NBA basketball player, Jeremy Lin, recently said, and I quote, "I have always said that in the long run, it can't only be Asians caring about Asian issues, or African Americans caring about African American issues. If, as minorities, we want the majority to understand what it is like to live a minority experience and to sympathize and change, we as minorities also have to collaborate, unify, and use our voices to stand up for each other. There has to be solidarity on that front." End quote. To my Asian community, you are not alone. The time has come to stay silent no more, to be visible, to stand up and fight so the world can feel our strength and hear our voices. Have the courage to speak up for the Asian child who is being bullied. Protect our elderly so they can move freely without fear of being attacked. To stand tall and be proud of our culture. Continue to push forward for a more equitable future, so the next generation of Asian voices are heard, contributions acknowledged, to be accepted and included in what it means to be an American, to be free. United as one community to amplify our voices to stand against hate and racism. A young person representing the next generation of Asian voices will lead us out with a rally call. When he says, "Show me what community looks like," I want everybody here to respond with, "This is what community looks like." Show me what community looks like. This is what community looks like. All right?
Show me what community looks like.
This is what community looks like.
Show me what community looks like.
This is what community looks like.
Show me what community looks like.
This is what community looks like.
Show me what community looks like.
This is what community looks like.
Show me what community looks like.
Thank you so much for coming out and standing with us. I would like to welcome Cristina Ordona, community member, CCD parent.
here today. I'm here to present the signs made by the CCD class. These were created by the CCD students of Brisbane. The third grade CCD teacher, Miss Cynthia Dalmasio, was not able to attend today's vigil, but she would like to share this message. Our class has been learning that we all have the ability to make the world better, even with the smallest gestures. We put that belief into action by making signs to help raise awareness for the crimes that are occurring against our AAPI community. These children are our future, and they want something better. These signs are a step in the right direction. I hope we can all join them in creating a better tomorrow. If we can give a round of applause for our young community members contributing to a better tomorrow. Next, we have Karen Dahmi, Brisbane resident, for the moment of silence.
Good afternoon, Brisbane. Thank you all for coming out for this very important cause. I'm Karen Dahmi, and I'm a resident of Brisbane. I've actually been living here for over 11 years, and I'll be leading you in our moment of silence. The increasing acts of racism, hate, and violence against the Asian communities have surged worldwide since COVID-19 pandemic. Last year, the United Nations issued a report that detailed an alarming level of racially motivated violence and other hate crimes against Asian Americans. This violence has continued into 2021. The uptick in attacks this year has focused mainly in the Bay Area. Here are some of the recently reported attacks, some that you've already heard our previous speakers speak to. An 84-year-old Thai immigrant in San Francisco, California, died last month after being violently shoved to the ground during his morning walk. A 59-year-old Asian male was pushed from behind and beaten unconscious in San Francisco, California. A 77-year-old elderly Asian man in Oakland, California, was punched and attacked when coming back home from breakfast. A 75-year-old Asian man is attacked and killed in Oakland, California. A 91-year-old senior was shoved to the pavement from behind in Oakland, California. An 89-year-old Chinese woman was slapped and set on fire by two people in Brooklyn, New York. A stranger on the New York subway slashed a 61-year-old Filipino-American passenger's face with a box cutter. An Asian-American butcher shop owner in Sacramento, California, found a dead cat left for her in front of her store. Several Asian-American homeowners have said they've been abused with racial slurs and had rocks thrown at their house. A Korean academic is stabbed outside a Korean supermarket in Montreal, Canada. And lastly, the tragic news that came this week. The reason our flags are at half-staff, the lone gunman who kills 6 women of Asian descent in Atlanta, Georgia. As Kalvin mentioned, the research released by the reporting forum Stop AAPI Hate on Tuesday revealed nearly 3,800 incidents were reported over the course of this year during the pandemic. We stand in solidarity today with our Asian American and Pacific Islander communities to denounce these acts of racism. Please join me in a 30-second moment of silence to remember those innocent people who lost their lives due to racial violence. and those who are victims of hate. Thank you. And I will pass the mic back to Cristina Ordona for some announcements. Thank you, everybody.
Before we end with a final performance from Ohina Aro Nui, we would like to thank the following people: Sebastian Sun in Parks and Recreation Department for the posters to be available to the public for free at the tables here at the gazebo. We would also like to say thank you to Mayor Cunningham, the Brisbane City Council, San Mateo County Board, Supervisor David Canepa, San Mateo County District Attorney Stephen Wagstaff, the Brisbane Youth Advisory Committee, Ohina Aro Nui, Millbrae Community Television, and to all the community speakers and volunteers. Thank you all for attending today's vigil and for standing in solidarity with the Asian American Pacific Islander community and denouncing racism. And now, Desiree Woodward Lee.
We would like to close this festivities today with a piece entitled Tamani no Te Iti. And it's really special for us as Pacific Islanders. It's because we are pushing for the next generation. With all that we've heard today, we hope that we can stand for the next generation to make a better place for everyone.
Tamari